Hi, everybody.
Hello,
How are you
everybody.
doing, Misha?
I'm doing good, Dio. How are you? I hear you have something very big.
Yeah, of course. Well, we have a competitor today because tonight, at 2 a.m. in this side of the world, we will have the new series, Stranger Things number 5. So we have a big competitor here. Maybe it's better if we begin with our heavy arguments about why a segment is better than a group, because we have a big, very, very big competitor here in the room who is going to compete with our ADC live streaming.
I,
So
I don't know how anybody can compete with ADC Live, honestly. I don't know about you. But
yes,
thank
and by the way, we have also a match in the NFL. So, well, here we are seeing who is the competitor. Who is gonna win between segments and groups. While on TV tonight, you will have the choice between the Lions and the Patriots. Maybe. Not sure, but yeah,
you.
that's it. So two clashes between Titans, of course, groups and segments, Patriots and
That's very
Lions.
thematic, very thematic for today's team. The very thematic. Two Titans. I like that. So pro tip of the week related to today's segment. Today we're talking about segments versus groups, which is right for you. I know it's been a topic. Segments have been very great. They're a great addition to LumApps. They released a couple of years ago and improved heavily. So we'll talk a little bit about it. Pro tip of the week is, since we're talking about segments, segments are really well used with to gauge analytics, to build data, to build groups. And but in order to use segments, you have to be enabled in the kind of like a semi-hidden way under the analytics settings. So you have kind of checkboxes. If we go to LumApps, and before you even begin, kind of go there right now. So we go to settings, analytics, and here you under insights analytics, you have something called settings. And so in this area, any user profile attribute you have appears in here. So to enable segments, in order to use those segments to create groups, you need to have these checkboxes set to on. Very important. Um, and once you get these on, and obviously that's these are being pulled from the main user directory of your site, then you'll start seeing those segments populate, and you can actually use them for all those great features that we'll be talking about. So very important, just a pro tip, to use segments properly, make sure that all the attributes you want to have enabled are enabled in order for you to leverage segments better. Okay, what are we excited about today? So,
Just one thing, Misha. May I say just one little thing that is about people who are watching this video. So maybe you don't know if you are watching this video right now, maybe after the show. What I want to say is that if you are on LinkedIn watching this video, you can leave a comment and we will see it live. And even after the streaming, we will be answering those comments. So just leave a comment and interact with us with our live. That's all. Thank you.
very great call out. Thanks, you. Completely forgot to mention. So, what we're excited about is our holiday spirits widget. Oops, it should say holiday spirits, not dynamic holiday spirits. Sorry about that. Real time update. And so the holiday spirits widget allows you to kind of add animation to a page. Why is it timely? Very simply because you get into the holiday spirits and year, holiday parties, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, etc. Right? So maybe you want to do a little something to fast up your space, your team pages. And we have some options for that. We have the holiday spirit widget here. So for example, you can go to any page space. In my case, I already have it set up on our learning space here. So all you do is simply add the widget to the page, and you have the option of play or pause button. I'm going to play it, and you'll have different animations flying down. Here I have snowflakes, or I have a snowman. But if you want to add snowflakes, you want to add turkeys for Thanksgiving, you have a bunch of different Unicode options you can choose from. Extra documentation gives you a link here. So if you want to choose turkeys, you can do that. Well, we're not going to go through the whole exercise here, but you can. These are using Unicode, so you simply copy and paste the symbol you'd like in here, and let's see if that finished. It's not loading yet, but any symbol you like, you can paste it as long as it's a Unicode symbol, and it'll display here. And again, use compose, play, etc. Add custom messages if you like to change the message as well, and obviously increase these or decrease these animations. So a lot of flexibility. There's a special if you are watching this episode and you would want to use it. You have an end of year special. You can use this widget for free for 6 months. Just ping us, let us know you've seen this episode, you're interested in this widget. We'll whitelist it for you, 6 months, no obligation, and you can use it on your platform. Okay. So next is segments. And we're going to talk about segments versus groups.
Well, now our visitors are getting accustomed to the trivia, so it's time for the survey.
Issues with that, but I hope Jeopardy will understand. I think many people have used those in the past about it. So, okay, LumApps Learning. So let's go to LumApps Learning space where we have our advanced survey extension. I'm going to pause the animation here with some testing your segment knowledge. So segments, these are true or false. Segments were initially created for broadcast. True or false? Eel, what do you say?
I am a fan of wrong answers on lead, so I'm going to put false.
False. Okay, let's see. Then a segment cannot be deleted. Is that true or false?
That is true, in my opinion.
I think it's true. A segment cannot be deleted. Okay, let's see. I think you might be right. A segment can be used in the editor's field. Oh, that's a difficult. Can a segment be used in the editor's field on the permissions on the page? On the page
I have a
permission?
50% chance, so I'm going for the false, of course.
It can be used. That's false. Let's see. So ready? Da-da-da, submit. So how do we do? So correct. You're correct to choose the correct answer for the first one. Segments were initially created for broadcast. Now they're broadened, not to overuse the word, but they are broadened now to other areas of LumApps, thankfully, beyond broadcasts. Segment cannot be deleted. That is also true. It cannot be deleted. It can only be archived, as we'll see in a minute. And a segment can be used in editor's field, which is false. It cannot be used. Great job. Segments cannot be used in the editor's field under the page permissions. Okay, I hope Ludo's watching. I hope Ludo.
Hi, Ludo.
If you are watching, I know it's a product, so maybe not yet, but hopefully they finish wrap up sooner. Okay.
Somebody has left a comment, by the way. Hi, Ruth. Thank you for joining us today. So, well, you said true, but I didn't notice the moment at which maybe just a second ago. So, thank you for your comment.
Thanks, Ruth. Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't. These are not exactly real time, so, but thanks for participating there. So, okay, let's go to the next reminder again. As Ruth has already done, post comments, ask questions directly on LinkedIn. Even though they're not real time, we're going to refresh every so often to check. So just remember to post your questions here directly from LinkedIn. So here's our famous decision tree guide. That's the same guide we use for spaces versus communities. So what should we use? Groups versus segments. Which is right for you? What do you think, Hugh? What's the right answer here?
Well, I prefer segments because I am a data data person. So yeah, I prefer segments. That's just my only reason. But yeah, that's it.
I think many would definitely agree with you. Back in the old days in LumApps, Paris gone way back. LumApps, you have groups. You have kind of three different. There manual groups. You have dynamic groups added through attributes, and you also have these kind of Google-based groups you can add. And now LumApps has extended way beyond it. And the biggest gap with groups was that you couldn't really exclude things out or include more things, kind of get what you get. Segments really solves a lot of that problem because you can actually do a lot of rules, exclusion rules. You can base segments based on attributes as we see. And this is kind of like a mapping we put together based on LumApps documentation, most of it, and some which is based on kind of our experiences and insight of LumApps versus groups, LumApps groups versus LumApps segments. So primary function, primary nature of segments, as already established, so segments were created initially for broadcasts to provide kind of more information. And now really segments are more about data, getting more data and insights with analytics, with targeting, with a lot of things um, that are beyond just a regular access group. Segments are both LumApps groups as well as LumApps segments. In fact, I just realized I put this wrong here. Maple was broadcast. That actually should have been with segments. Let me actually update this here directly so nobody gets confused.
By the
So
way, when you are editing, so this is the fun of the live sessions as of today. But there is a Ruth who is saying that actually she was playing with our survey while we were asking questions. So thanks a lot for correcting me, Ruth. And just for the fun fact, given that we are here talking about the groups, and well, you were speaking about nostalgia, you know. I was at LumApps, it was 2017, and actually that was the very beginning of the LumApps product. And so the person who has met me for the first time at LumApps was another backend engineer. And so my first name is Ivo. His first name was Ivan. And Ivan was the guy implementing the original groups in LumApps. So, well, Ivan, if ever you watch us today, a big hug to you. I hope that everything is fine for you these days. And yeah, well, great respect to that Ivan, because he was one of the founding fathers of the LumApps engineering team, not of the company, but the engineering team. So great respect to you, pal.
wow, I do remember him back in 2017. A little piece of LumApps history, right?
Right, that's it. We are sold, I would say also.
So LumApps groups, so basically managed by sites and then the platform admins. Obviously, groups that are created on platform level are inherited down to site level. Segments really are only site by site. So you can, if you have use cases of 10, 20 different sites, you really cannot have a global segment. You can only have one segment per site. Again, pros and cons to everything, but that's just the way they're designed. There's no platform level segment as there are with groups. Types of creation, so when groups were created manually, you can do manual groups, there's dynamic groups, right, or based on attribute, or based on a distribution field, like a Google, etc., or some kind of attributes or skim. Then with segments, obviously you have multitude of rules, which we'll get into. Essentially, these segments, most of the attributes are coming from your main user directory of your site. As we saw earlier in the pro tip, as long as you have that feature, LumApps settings, the analytics attributes checked off, you'll be able to find those settings, those segments, attributes for your segments. And a couple of yes, no's, just kind of make it a little simple, less words. So use for broadcast, no, you cannot use groups for broadcast, unlike segments, which you can. Obviously, segments are beyond that, but just analytics usage, you obviously use segments for analytics, get more insights about certain groups, certain segments, build those out, as we'll see. Personally, about the same. Once you build a group dynamically, or you initiate a segment, that populates within like the hour, but then every subsequent synchronization is within a day, 24 hours typically, or I think midnight French time. It's always the question there. Deletion capability, so you cannot, you can delete groups. Site admins, manual groups, or global admins can create platform groups. Can delete platform groups. If you're admin, you can only delete platform groups as a global admin. Site admins can also delete site groups, so that I have to update this one. With segments, you can only archive them. You cannot delete them. With So available for editor by field. So with LumApps groups, you can, and those of you who are a little bit of techies and are into content additions, content editing, in LumApps's permissions settings on the page level, you have the ability to add an editor. And a lot of time that was it's a good use case if you have one-offs for pages to be edited. So you don't want to create a separate role. You only want to give one manual group to that specific page or to a series of pages. But you can only do it with manually created groups or dynamic groups, meaning groups that are created Google Maps groups, but not through segments. Segments are not yet capable of being added to the editor's field. And probably for a good reason, because maybe segments are more broader versus editor groups are designed to be like more for a smaller group of people. So typically those are created manually in LumApps. So available for roles, yes, definitely. LumApps groups are what you create to create LumApps roles, whether those groups are created manually or through a Google distribution group or through some kind of segment, through an attribute, which again, segment attribute groups are not recommended. Unfortunately, they are created, but yes, LumApps groups are definitely used to create roles. Segments, you cannot use segments for roles, at least not yet. Maybe that's going to come in the product, but that's one of the big things also from a technical perspective for kind of clear distinction between one and the other.
Have you seen the comment by Dory?
I have not.
Look, it's impressed on the bottom right corner of the screen. So she's saying, thank you very much for participating. By the way, Bella, that's about you can add the members to a space with segments, but you cannot use segments for group selection that automatically follow the space. So thank you very much, Dory.
A very good point. Thanks, Gloria. We'll add that to our slide as well, and we'll definitely share it out afterwards. Good call out. I thought about them. I don't think I had enough space here, but very good call out. And yeah, so this is pretty much it. Also, site access restrictions. You cannot really restrict sites using segments, only using groups as well. Another small little caveat. But the big win here with segments, obviously, is all the a massive amount of exclusions you can create, the rules you can create, which are very, very powerful with segments. Okay, so segment use cases. Let's cover a couple of those. You also one is, and again, there's really infinite number of use cases you can create with segments. One, for example, with onboarding, and this isn't just for. I'm using this one specifically for pages, but you can obviously have onboarding with LumApps Learning. That's a great use case for segments as well. Targeting folks who just joined LumApps to go through certain modules. Here, this specifically is on a page level. So if you have an onboarding page or a series of pages in LumApps, for example, right, and somebody's in their first week or the first month, and you'd like to give them certain surveys, so you would like to restrict certain widgets to certain levels of folks, you can actually create a segment based on, as an example here, on when that account was created. So obviously, hence the onboarding use case, if they're created within, let's say, on a creation date, or you can choose a period, for example, right? So here, you go to the back office, and let's say we go to segments, which are located in our content strategy section in other modules. So you create a new segment or new hires or whatever it is, right? You have a lot of capabilities here. You can check off this box so that it's not just only for broadcasts, but it covers many of these other areas within LumApps. And for rules specifically, so for segment attributes, so here you have all the attributes that we have checked off that are coming in dynamically through your source of truth, right? So these appear here only when those checkboxes in the analytics were checked off. And we go further here, let's say account creation date. You can choose after as one rule. So here, for example, after 2024, or you can choose is in next year, is in the last, let's say period. You can choose last months or last years and last like 3 months or 6 months, right? You can put, for example, so you want to target certain populations of folks who were onboarded in the last 6 months or 3 months. And so it kind of targets certain widgets or certain that have certain information for those people who are only in those last 3 or 6 or 9 months, whatever is your onboarding strategy is. And that way, when you build those segments out, you can easily go to a page. So in our case, let's go to an onboarding page here that we built. And then you can have, let's say, go to my things to do, week 1, right? So let's say if I'm in the group of people who joined the company in the last 9 months, I'll be able to see the survey. I'll be able to take the survey directly from one of my steps when onboarding. Are you getting the resource you need? Let's say yes. Is your ADC body helpful? Let's say no, right? And I'll submit what else do you want to say, etc. So I can submit it. Now let's say if I change the segment, right? If I change this group here, so right now it's not restricted, but if I go back into advanced settings and I restrict to, I'll say I put hires. So this segment is only for people who were within the last year who joined the company. So if I click on save and I X out of the page, I no longer see this widget here. And obviously you can, it's widget based, so you can add other widgets here, for example, right? You might want to target step 1 for people who visit this page after 6 months, a different type of survey, for example, right? So you can have multiple surveys on the page. One is for before 6 months, one is for after, or whatever the widget is. Doesn't include surveys, obviously. But point being is that these are some great use cases you can use with segments to target certain populations based on time frames of when they joined the company, or when they essentially from when they first when their account was created within LumApps. Next one, and this is more for HR. So then you have comms use cases. And for comms, right? So HR is more about serving content on a page, restricting certain things from one group or promoting to other groups. For comms, you can obviously it's more about uh, getting to know a certain segment, targeting specific content to certain segments, in understanding behaviors of certain segments, right? That's where segments blend with the richness of your analytics plus content targeting in the content management system of LumApps, right? So those two things for comms is also there's a different types of use cases. So here in comms, for example, these use cases again very broadly managed as far as creating combination of different data points, combination of different attributes. For example, users, I want to target um, uh, only contractors who are based in this location who joined the company between this time, right? So I can create a segment, create these 3 rules, and we can create up to 50 rules, right, in a segment.
Yeah, that's right. And so in terms of limits, there is a difference between groups and segments. In segments, you can define a rule up to 50 attributes, 50 distinct attributes, and I think 200 predicates. So like a department equals to engineering and stuff, or this and that. So those clauses can be composed up to 200. So if you think about it, it's like a huge. We had a similar limit also for groups, and that you had to know that you can add a LumApps user to up to 400 groups. Beyond, LumApps does not guarantee that this information will be kept in the product. So yeah, but we are talking about extreme cases, right?
Yeah. Also, a great thing about segments, which I love, absolutely love, is that, and again, obviously we have a much smaller environment here than the customer environment, but segments are really great in areas because I can actually see how many people are within a segment. Right, so you can kind of hover over, it shows exactly how many folks are synchronized to a specific segment, which is really great. At a glance, I as an admin or as a comms manager, I can see, for example, how many folks, if I go to visibility, look at affiliate, so I can see hover over, and it'll tell me exactly. So one person affiliate consultants, okay, that's obviously you know what that is, but you can see directly how many folks are synchronized at a glance. When was last updated, right? So really a lot of powerful technical use cases here, but also platform experience use cases as well for creating different strategies, communication strategies, and experience strategies for the users from these. Let's see, and the user directory Super Bowl. Ivo, do you want to talk about this one a little bit? I think we covered this last time.
Yes, of course. Effectively, in the scope of the content creation, you can use segments as if they were groups. And what is very helpful is that you can define any new segment from the user directory attributes. So during the last episode, we have seen how you can define a template for a user directory. And so for every attribute that you display on the user directory, you can reference an attribute in your identity provider, of your users in your identity provider. And so starting upon those attributes that you have defined in your user directory, you can define new segments and so use those segments everywhere in the product. It's also very, very helpful because LumApps actually knows when such an attribute is gone. Because let's imagine you are going to redefine your user directory, change the template, and stuff like that. So LumApps is going to inform you about the fact that that attribute is now gone, and so the segment is not anymore being updated. So that is a great advantage that you can pull out of segments and user directories. So a huge superpower, the ones that we love in Stranger Things, right?
Yeah. And there's so much more that, on the back end, on collecting information, who's access when, where. There's segments really give you a lot of insights, not just on the front end, the experience side, but really just helping with cleanups and audits and all those other things that we just won't have time to discuss. So a really great addition, I think. Just kudos to LumApps for giving this one. I just remember just 6 years ago being like always biting my nails and trying to figure out how to exclude certain groups or how to create certain groups and not others, and how to like have multiple groups on a page to target this one and that one. Just could never really figure it out. And Segments really to figure that out really well. And it's really just about understanding the great use cases that they have, and obviously what the customer needs are, and baking that in. So really kudos to LumApps for doing segments, and looking forward to more advancements there. Finally, your feedback matters. Definitely go to our space on the Hive. Click on the on our take the survey results. Give us tell us what you think, what topics you'd like to cover. Maybe you want to come in, discuss some experiences you have, talk about certain topics. Always great to have more insights from our friends and partners. And what's next? We have December 10th. We're going to be talking about how to customize your search page, native search page. If you're using Coveo, how to do that as well. Ivo's going to deep dive into this one. I think it's a really great segment, specifically technically for folks who are interested in customization of the search page. And then we're going to take a break, a very long needed break, end of year, wishing everybody happy holidays. And we're going to start the year anew. Please come, tell us what you think, post something on our Hive space, let us what topics we can cover, and we're more than happy to discuss those. So until then, thank you guys very much. Ivo, any last remarks before we go?
Don't miss Stranger Things later on today, okay? Just kidding. No, thank you, everybody. Thank you for participating to this event. And so, watch the next one.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Hey, Ivo.